Hello everyone, 5 minute delay here. Hope y'all are having a wonderful holiday season. Now that it's Christmas time, I feel like it's the perfect opportunity to talk about Halloween Horror Nights once again. But this isn't going to be an ordinary video. You see, I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights since 2014. That's almost 10 years, and I haven't missed a year since. And naturally, I haven't missed out on a single maze in each year. And I've been looking back and I've done all the numbers and I've walked through 64 haunted mazes throughout my whole 10 years of going to Halloween Horror Nights. That's crazy. But you know what's even crazier is me ranking them. Yes, you heard right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to rank every single Halloween Horror Nights maze that I've ever walked through from 2014 to 2023. So I'm going to be ranking every single maze that I walked through, all 64 mazes from worst to best. And I'm going to talk about a little bit with each one. I'm not going to go too into detail, otherwise the video would be like 6 hours long. But yeah, I'm going to talk about a little bit as to why I placed them the way I placed them in the list. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off at last place, number 64, bottom of the barrel, my least favorite maze of all time in Halloween Horror Nights, is Face Off in the Flesh from 2014. Now, I was actually excited for this one because I love the Face Off show on Sci-Fi, but it was basically just House of Horrors, just throwing in some dubstep and throwing in some characters from the show, and the makeup wasn't even good. Like, it goes everything against the whole concept of Face Off, just being precise with the makeup. It was, yeah, it was a big mess. It was a horrible excuse of a haunted attraction. 63, Killer Clowns from Outer Space from 2022. Now, this is a direct repeat from the one in 2019. You're going to see a lot of direct repeats during like the bottom section of this ranking. Yeah, I just don't care very much for repeats. They're very tedious and boring because like I know where everything is coming. I already know what characters I'm going to see. I already know what set pieces I'm going to see. And Killer Clowns was no exception. And it was just like depressing to walk through because like all the effects weren't working as well as the one in 2019. 62, The Exorcist from 2021. Again, direct repeat, more or less it's the same problems as Killer Clowns. And it was also during the COVID year, so there was a lot of plexiglass in front of the actors, and some actors were wearing masks. It was, yeah, it was just weird. At 61 is going to be Stranger Things from 2019. Now, this is based on the second season and a little bit of the third season, I believe, and it was just not good. It was funny because I was remembering this maze like, was the maze really that bad? And so I went on YouTube and looked at the POV videos, and like, it was worse than I remembered. Just like so many missed opportunities, and like there's so little scare actors. It was just a big flop, and it was one of like the big main headlining mazes of the year. So for them to fumble that bad, it's just kind of embarrassing. Number 60 is going to be This Is the End. Yes, you heard right. They made a maze based off of the Seth Rogen comedy, and it was a 3D maze too, which is weird. Yeah, this is just like bottom tier horror nights. Just it was not scary, and they tried to make it a comedy maze, but it was not funny. And if you hadn't seen This Is the End, you would have no idea what's going on. Like, what's Seth Rogen doing here, and like, what are all these like demons people going on? Yeah, it was just so confusing, so bizarre. They made a This Is the End maze, like weird. 59, The First Purge from 2018. Yeah, I don't really remember much from this maze. There was like one good scene where there were like a bunch of mannequins, and a couple of them were pretending to be mannequins, but they were actually scare actors. But other than that, it was just very forgettable. It was just there because they were promoting the new movie. 58, Ash versus Evil Dead from 2017. What the hell was that, bro? Like, half of the maze consisted of black walls, and the masks for Ash Williams were like so bad. It was just so weird. But yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead was quite a stinker. Right above Ash vs. Evil Dead is Universal Horror Hotel. Now, at first, I didn't mind it that much when I first experienced it. Like, oh, it's not that bad. It has some merit. But after going through Evil Dead Rise, it just made Horror Hotel so much worse. Looking back, it was so bad. It was so bare bones. There wasn't enough meat on the bones. And it was just like, it was very much like apparent that it was a last minute replacement. It's so embarrassing to look at now. Like, wow, like, I mean, props to them for like coming up with like something in time, but Horror Hotel was not good. Coming in at 56 is Clowns 3D, music by Slash. Now, I'm not gonna lie, like, this is probably like bottom 5 as opposed to like bottom 10, like objectively speaking. But I just have like so much nostalgia for this maze. Like I just remember like putting on the 3D glasses and just walking through the red and blue hallways and just hearing the slash music everywhere. It brings me back to like my first time experiencing Horror Nights. So at least it had that going for it. 55, Holidays in Hell from 2023. Again, same thing with Exorcist and Killer Clowns. Direct repeat. I already know what's coming. Thought it was boring. Waste of maze space. Moving on. 54, Alien vs. Predator from 2015. Once again, a direct repeat, although I will say this one is like the least egregious out of all the direct repeats I've experienced. Mostly because like the maze itself was just so cool. And I understand wanting to redo that maze because the puppets and animatronics are probably so expensive to make and they didn't want to let all that money go to waste. So, I mean, I guess there's that. 53, Horrors on Blumhouse from 2018. This is the one with Truth or Dare and Unfriended. Yeah, that's all you need to know about how bad that maze was. Just like the choices of the Blumhouse movies they decided to do, and I believe like they made it like an original ending, like based on the logo, but it just went nowhere. It was just a bunch of dark hallways with like a generic demon and a black robe popping out. Yeah, it was just so weird and it was not good. 52, The Haunting of Hill House from 2021. The most disappointed that I've ever been with the Halloween Horror Nights maze. Hill House had so much potential, but it was just so boring. I guess they were going for like that slow burn of the Netflix show kind of feel, but it was just boring. It was boring. Coming in at 51 is Saw, The Games of Jigsaw from 2017. Now, if you would have asked me like a couple of years ago, I probably would have had Saw ranked much lower in this ranking. But after looking at the videos, I realized it's not that bad. And I recently just binge watched the whole Saw franchise, so that definitely like helped out a little bit. Looking back at the maze, like the traps they decided to include are pretty cool. Like especially if you're a fan of the Saw movies, like if you know, you know, like you know the significance of all the traps. But all in all, I don't think the concept of Saw really translates well into a Horror Nights maze. I mean, what else can you do other than showcase traps and have a piggy dude scare you? Show another trap, have another piggy dude scare you. It can get like repetitive and old very fast. But other than that, like it wasn't terrible. 50, Horrors of Blumhouse from 2017. This is when they did Happy Death Day and Sinister. This one was just like mid. I didn't really like resonate that much with Happy Death Day nor Sinister. I felt like they wasted Sinister. Like it could have been like its own solo maze, but the scenes that they decided to include were just like so weird, and it was a lot of Sinister 2 as well, like sequel that no one saw and no one talks about. 49 is going to be The Curse of Pandora's Box from 2021. Now, technically, this is another direct repeat, but they did change a little bit to make it just a little different to have its own identity. 48 is Insidious from 2017. Now, this was another one that I was really disappointed by because I love the Insidious maze from 2015 so much. Obviously, ranked much higher in this list, as you'll see in a bit. But the one in 2017 was just so disappointing. The majority of the maze was based off of the number 4, I believe it was called The Last Key, I believe it was called, and it was just a lot of the key demon, which was really cool and it was really interesting. But other than that, it was just a bunch of black walls. I mean, I get it. It's the further you're in pitch black darkness, but there was a lot. There wasn't a whole lot going on. It was just like a bunch of ghosts walking around, and it wasn't very scary, except for the near end when there was like 5 ghosts jumping out at you. That was like the saving grace. That really is a scary scene. But other than that, it was just extremely forgettable and just very disappointing. 47, Crimson Peak from 2015. Same problems with Hill House. Very pretty to look at. Very cool sets, very cool creature designs, but it was just boring and not scary at all whatsoever. You would think Guillermo del Toro and Horror Nights would be a match made in heaven, but after going through Crimson Peak, I don't think they're a good match. I think they're two totally different like experiences and vibes that just clash with each other, at least in my eyes. 46 is Universal Monsters Unmasked from 2023. Yeah, this is another one where I was just like, yeah, this was not good. The highs in the maze were really high, but the lows are pretty low. It was just a lot of black walls. It was just like everything about it was just like inferior to the other Universal Monster mazes that came before it. Definitely my least favorite Monsters maze by far. 45 is From Dusk Till Dawn from 2014. The maze was actually based off of the reboot on TV, the TV show From Dusk Till Dawn. I think if this was based on the actual movie, it would have been like at least like a couple spots higher because I resonate with that movie so much. And like the show, I've only seen like a couple of episodes of it. Wasn't really impressed by it. The prosthetics for the vampires were cool, and some of the sets were pretty cool. But other than that, like I cannot remember a single thing about it. It was just that forgettable. 44 Horrors of Blumhouse from 2022. This is when they did Freaky and the Black Phone. The Freaky section was a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting much from it, but I had a lot of fun with that one. And the Black Phone was a bit underwhelming. It was just like so many missed opportunities with that section, and it just ended on a whimper. 43 The Walking Dead from 2014. Now, this is the one based on the fourth season, the one where they try to go and find Terminus, that one. Now, this was back when Walking Dead was really popular, and that was like the it show. And when I walked through it, it was kind of underwhelming. Maybe it's because like I didn't enjoy season 4 as much as the other seasons, but yeah, you just go through the prison and you go through a bunch of trees, just like nothing like anything like notable or remarkable. Like they didn't even like showcase like some of the more like better scenes of the show. Like they chose like some of the more like mellow, like unmemorable scenes. Like yeah, it was just weird. So much I could have changed about Walking Dead, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. 42 is House of a Thousand Corpses. This one was a lot of fun. It was pretty decent. The scare actors were cool. The sets were like all right, you know. But other than that, like yeah, it was a fine time. It was a fine, decent experience. Like not really much bad I can say about it, but not much else good I can say about it. It was just very like middle of the road, okay maze. 41 is Dracula Untold from 2014. Does anybody remember Dracula Untold? That movie? Yeah, no, they made a maze based off of it. And you know what? I was expecting a lot less, but it actually did surprise me in a lot of ways. It was a lot scarier than I thought it was going to be. The very first half of the maze was very claustrophobic, and the vampires get really close to you. I remember getting a lot of good scares in that maze. But other than that, nothing really interesting going on. The sets weren't that impressive, and yeah, it was all right. Number 40. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but F it. Trick or Treat from 2018. When I first experienced it, I disliked it like very much. I was so disappointed with it. It's just it consisted of black walls, black walls, black walls, and then a scene from the movie, and then black walls, and then another scene from the movie, and like each little like story, they only included like one scene of the story. Like, oh, you go to the school bus massacre. Oh my god, it's the bus, and then you're moving on to the next segment, and like, oh, okay, we're at the Creole house or whatever the old man's name is. And yeah, that was just like my biggest gripe. It's just so many black walls, like so many more scenes they could have included. I was so let down by it. Eventually, like over the course of the 2018 season, I've grown to appreciate it a little more. Yeah, other than that, like Trick or Treat, while good, could have been so much better. 39 is Stranger Things from 2023, the one that just came out based on season 4. This was a good maze. It was just way too short. They could have included so much more. Just so many missed opportunities. Again, not terrible, but it could have been so much better. Halloween from 2022. Now, this is a good maze. This is a good maze. I like it. It's decent. It's just again, it has the same problems as the other direct repeats. It's just more or less get that feeling of deja vu. And like, how many more times can you see Michael Myers like popping out of hedges, and then the maze just ends with like a mirror maze full of Michael Myers dummies and actors? Just it can get old. There is a thing as too much Michael Myers. 37, The Curse of Pandora's Box from 2019, the very first time they had it. Now, this is a very love or hate maze. Some people love it and think it's one of the best mazes ever. Other people say it's one of the worst and like it's just so bad. It's so just bottom tier Horror Nights at its worst. For me, I'm firmly in the middle of it. Some of the set pieces, while colorful, weren't really that interesting, and like it was a bit confusing. The story is a bit confusing to follow, but this is hands down one of the scariest mazes that I've ever experienced. The scares hit hard. There were scenes where like it'll be pitch black darkness and then the lights will pop up and actors will come at you. I never had a dull experience with the first Pandora's Box maze. So much fun. 36 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2021, the COVID year. This is the one based off of the first movie. And I had a lot of fun with this one. You know, it was cool seeing Leatherface and like just like scenes from the movie like get brought to life. But again, this was during the COVID year, so they didn't really go all out. Some of the actors were wearing face masks, they were behind plexiglass, like but with what they had to work with, I had a decent time with it. Number 35, Evil Dead Rise, or as I like to call it, the Snyder Cut of Halloween Horror Nights. So much better, than Horror Hotel in so many ways. Like, this is clearly the intended vision. Like, it just feels a lot more complete. There was much more meat with this bone. I had great scares, I had good sets, the actors are really cool. I had a lot of fun with this one. 34 is American Horror Story from 2016. This is when they did Freak Show, Murder House, and Hotel. I like seeing all the different characters in there. They managed to pack a lot from season 1, which is really cool. Season 4 was a lot of fun. I like seeing Twisty, I like seeing all the freaks, and I like seeing Neil Patrick Harris saw Emma Roberts in half. That was funny. And Hotel I thought was kind of underwhelming. Like, they included as much as they could, but yeah, there was just some parts that were missing. I feel like they could have included a lot more from the hotel section. 33 is the first Stranger Things maze back in 2018, the one based on the first season. I like this one. This is really cool. I remember when I first experienced it, I was geeking out seeing all the characters. Like, oh my god, it's Hopper. Like, oh my god, it's Will Byers. Oh my god, it's a dead Barb corpse. Just like seeing all the Easter eggs, just like as a fan of the show, it was like really exciting. Like, when they first announced that Stranger Things was coming, the hype was real. Like, I want to go back to that hype so much. It was just so cool. 32 is The Walking Dead from 2015. I remember back in 2015, this maze was advertised as the longest Walking Dead maze ever. This is our longest maze ever. It's gonna have so much stuff. It didn't really feel long, but there were a lot of zombies. I remember there being like a lot of walkers. Just like, I was being overwhelmed with the amount of scare actors everywhere, and it wasn't just walkers. It was just like cannibals from Terminus scaring you, and like victims popping out at you screaming for help. Like, I like the variety, and the sets were really cool too. I remember liking Walking Dead. 31 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. The first time they had it. This was decent, you know. I remember the scare actors for Michael Myers were being really aggressive. They were really cool. I wish they could have included a lot more scenes from Halloween 4, but other than that, like, it was a cool, decent time. And right above Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers from 2018, is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers from 2021. I don't care very much for direct repeats, and the COVID year was just like an odd year for the mazes, but this one really surprised me. I actually prefer this one over the first one, over like a razor's thin edge. And because it fixed the issues that I had with the first one, it included more scenes from the actual Halloween 4 movie, which I really thought was really cool. 29 is The Exorcist from 2016. This is the one based off of the first original movie. This is a good one. When I first experienced it, though, I was really disappointed with it. I was like let down by the amount of black walls, just like random projections of Pazuzu, Captain Howdy. But over time, I learned to appreciate it more and more because it had like its own kind of like rhythm. It was like a certain pattern. You walk through a certain scene and the exorcism, and then you go through a bunch of dark hallways with Pazuzu scaring you, and then it's just like very different stages of the exorcism, like different parts of the movie you go through. It was a very interesting experience, and some of the effects and the masks were really cool too. So yeah, it was a good time. 28 is Universal Monsters Legends Collide from 2022. The quality of the mazes, like compared to the other previous Monsters mazes, it was just like the first Universal Monsters was like up here, and then alongside Frankenstein versus the Wolfman, and then alongside Frankenstein Lives, and then just to Legends Collide right here, and then just Unmasked was just even lower. But like what we have for Legends Collide, it was not bad. You know, I still enjoyed myself. I like seeing all the different characters. I like seeing all the different scenes. It's just like my main gripe was with the story. Like, I was just so confused walking through the whole thing. Like, what is going on? I just see Wolfman and Dracula's Brides popping out everywhere with like little to no context. 27 is the original Holidays in Hell from 2019. This is a really good one. I do enjoy this one. They managed to pack so much in such a little space. So many holidays included. I like the dark sense of humor that they were going for. I like all the character designs. The only thing that holds it back for me is the music from Figure. Like, I just don't care very much for the dubstep. Number 26 is The Exorcist Believer from just last year. It's very similar to the original Exorcist maze. You know, you go through various stages of the exorcism and various parts of the movie, and then in between you have like transitions of like dark hallways with like demons popping out. Although I will give this one a bit of an edge because I can excuse the pattern rhythm that they were going for because it's essentially like a living movie trailer. I understand they didn't want to reveal much of it. Whereas The Exorcist, like, everybody knows The Exorcist, everybody's watched The Exorcist, so you could have done a lot more with that. But with this one, I can forgive them for not showing as much. Number 25 is going to be American Horror Story from 2017. And this one was based purely off of the Roanoke season, just one season. And honestly, I enjoyed the American Horror Story mazes much more when it's focused on one season and one season only. Because if you do different seasons, you have to worry about which scenes you want to do. Like, yeah, you can only do like so many. But if you do one season, like you don't have to worry about that much. You can include like a lot more scenes and you can include a lot more characters. It gives you a lot more freedom. I just thought overall like the Roanoke maze was a lot scarier. The sets were a bit cooler and like the costumes and masks were pretty cool. 24 Creepshow from 2019. The original Creepshow has always been one of my favorites. I've always wanted to see it at Horror Nights, and when we got it, I was satisfied. I was very happy with it. And I even like some of the scenes they included from the show on Shudder. I do have a little nitpicks here and there about the maze overall. Again, nitpicks, they're not like big glaring issues, but I'm just more like nitpicky about Creepshow because again it's one of my favorites. But other than that, it was a really good maze. I was satisfied with it. Just above Creepshow is gonna be Ghostbusters. This one was so much fun, man. Just seeing all the ghosts. It was just such a fun vibe. Now this is how you do a horror comedy maze, not like this is the end. Only big issue I have with Ghostbusters are just the black walls, like they couldn't figure out how to transition from one scene to the next. So let's just put them in dark hallways and then a random ghost will pop out of nowhere. But other than that, like Ghostbusters, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good time. 22 is Texas Chainsaw Blood Brothers, I believe it was called, from 2016. Now, this one, they really took an interesting approach with it. It's not necessarily based off of the first movie, but it's not based on any of the sequels either. They just kind of like made like their own original story, like that took place somewhere in the canon timeline. It was pretty interesting. But from what I saw, it was really cool. Seeing Leatherface actors were really cool. Seeing Choctaw was really cool. Just like the vibes were cool. Like it was exactly what you'd expect from a Texas Chainsaw. Like if you love Texas Chainsaw, then I don't see you being disappointed with Blood Brothers. This one was really fun. 21, The Shining from 2017. This was really cool. I remember really liking this one. Only big issue I have was the way they executed the blood elevator scene. If you haven't been through The Shining, just go ahead and watch like a YouTube POV video right now and see how they did the elevator scene in Hollywood. It's embarrassing. That's all I'll say. But other than that, they pretty much like checked all the boxes. They got Jack Nicholson like with his accent. Here's Johnny, and then you got all the ghosts and all like just the different characters and the scenes from the movie. Like if you're a fan of The Shining, then you would have enjoyed the maze. Right above The Shining is Titans of Terror. Now, this is actually supposed to be another maze that was replaced last minute because something happened with the rights. We still don't know what happened with those rights, but a lot of people can speculate what that original maze was going to be. But that's like a whole other discussion. But with what we got with Titans of Terror, I had a really good time. As a fan of Freddy and Jason and Leatherface as well, like it was basically everything I could have asked for. It was really cool. It was really fun. Coming in at 19 is Poltergeist from 2018. I liked all the different animatronics and puppets. I liked seeing all the characters and just hearing the music and seeing the facade of the house, just going through all the iconic scenes. It was really cool. It was really satisfying. My favorite scene was near the end when all the tombstones come up and all the corpses come out at you, and you don't know which one's like a prop and which one's a scare actor, and they get real close to you, and it's really scary. It trips you up really bad. Number 18 is The Weekend After Hours Nightmare. Now, I was very hesitant to put it this high up on the list, but after thinking about it, I've been missing it recently. I just missed like the whole party vibes and jamming to the music. Although it wasn't really the scariest maze in the world, like it was probably one of the least scariest mazes that Horror Nights has ever done. Just the whole thing was just one big vibe. Like I really miss the weekend, and I hope the weekend does make a comeback at Horror Nights at some point in time. But yeah, from what we got, it was really cool. My number 17 is gonna be Chucky from 2023. The animatronics in that maze were so impressive, and just like if you're a Chucky fan, you would have enjoyed it so much. Just like so many like little nods to the movies and the show, and just like it was just overall just a fun vibe. Again, same thing with Weekend, not really scary, but it's just all about the vibes, and it was just so well done. Number 16, The Bride of Frankenstein Lives from 2021. This was my favorite of the 2021 season, just by a landslide too. Like it was so good. Like the set's really good. The characters were awesome. I love the storytelling. The story was easy to follow, and just I like seeing all the characters and the brides, the whole story in general, and the music too. This is probably some of the best music that Slash has made for any of the Universal Monster mazes. It's really fun. I love it so much. All right, we are now at the top 15, and these next 15 mazes are just like some of the best that Horror Nights in Hollywood had to offer. Just like little to no complaints with these next 15 mazes. Like these are the mazes that all other mazes should strive to be like. These are just like goated, like top tier, S tier mazes that I love so much. And kicking off the top 15 is going to be The Last of Us from 2023. They translated the video game to a T. Like, just they did so much justice to like that universe and that story, seeing all the different characters, seeing all the Easter eggs, like the generator. Like, come on, like this is that one was clearly made for the fans. Other reason why it's not much higher is because I wish it was a bit more inclusive. It was a little too much for the fans, for like casual like Horror Nights fans that haven't seen The Last of Us or played The Last of Us. They might be like a little lost on a couple things and stuff, but overall, it was a really good time. It was really cool, very well made. 14 is Us, based on the Jordan Peele movie back in 2019. This one was so well done. I was not prepared for how good Us was going to be. Scare actors were on their A game every time I experienced Us, and the set's really cool. They really did the movie justice. They had all the right beats. It was really good. At number 13, we have Krampus. Oh god, Krampus was so good, man. The facade, the sets, it was just so pretty, and all the creature designs were really cool. And I was expecting it to be a bit more silly when I first experienced it. No, they catch you off guard. I remember the scares being really like hard hitting, and like my favorite scene was when Krampus comes leaps out of the chimney like about to bite my ankles. It was really so much fun. Number 12 is going to be Monstros, the Monsters of Latin America, which is the maze I decided to rep for this video, as you can see. But yeah, this maze was like so good. It was so well done. Not quite as good as La Llorona, which I will get to in a bit, but yeah, it was just as good. It was close to being as good as La Llorona. The atmosphere was so good. The characters really cool. The story world building was really cool. It was damn near perfect. Number 11, Killer Clowns from Outer Space in 2019. God, this maze was so much fun. Again, like this is another one of my all-time favorite movies, and they did the movie so much justice. They included almost all of the scenes in there, and they did it so perfectly. All the actors were really cool. The masks were really cool. Just when they brought it back, I was excited, but then they messed it up so badly. They lost that magic. I truly believe that first Killer Clowns maze was like lightning in a bottle. So much damn fun. Number 10 is Halloween from 2015. Yeah, this was my first Halloween maze, and it was really good. I noticed when they brought it back for 2022, they actually fixed some of the issues that I have with this first Halloween maze. You know, like for example, there's a scene where they're trying to replicate the scene where he's like disappearing right behind the hedge walls. But in the first maze, it was just a bunch of wallpaper hedges, whereas in the new one, the most recent Halloween maze actually included like actual shrubbery. And you know, they added Laurie Strode, who was entirely missing from this one, and just like other little things that they fixed upon this one. But the reason why I prefer this one by a whole lot is because of the energy. Like it felt mean. The Michael Myers actors felt really aggressive. It just felt spooky. You really felt that rage from within Michael Myers throughout the whole maze. And it was also a lot scarier. It was a lot more claustrophobic. It was just like, yeah. And again, it was my first time going through a Michael Myers maze. So that it was just like that much magical. Like, oh my God, it's Michael Myers. Number 9 is Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. I think this is very underrated. You know, a lot of people say like, "Oh, the first one was the best. Bride of Frankenstein Lives was the best." Frankenstein meets the Wolfman is like a close second with like my number one Monsters Maze. Like, it's so good. It's so aggressive, so scary. Just like a lot of the story beats from like the old classic movie were represented here. Just like for the fans of the classic Universal monster movies, like you can tell fans made this, and it was made for the fans. Like it was just so good. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman is definitely slept on. One of the most slept on mazes in Horror Nights history. At number 8, we got Alien vs. Predator. The first time they had it back in 2014. The puppets were so impressive. Just seeing all the predators and like the aliens, and they look just like how they did in the movie. They literally leaped out of the movie screen, and the set's really cool. And they kind of made like it your own, like kind of loosely based on an original story in this Alien vs. Predator universe, and it worked so well. I love the storytelling through its visuals. It's just, and especially that queen alien at the end, so good. They really just don't make him like they used to, man. Number 7, we have La Llorona from 2022. Yeah, this is my first and only experience with La Llorona at Horror Nights. And talk about a great first impression. Just like I understand why it's such a fan favorite. Like it's so good. Just like it just oozes with atmosphere. The whole concept of La Llorona in general just makes for a really great and creepy maze. Just iconic. Just simply iconic. So iconic. Number six, An American Werewolf in London. Oh god, dude! I noticed I have like a bigger smile with like these top 10 because like they're so good, man. These are such good mazes. But yeah, American Werewolf. The puppets for the werewolves were really cool, and they translated all the scenes from the movie so well. The makeup was really cool, and the costumes were really cool. Just like and the vibes, it made you feel like you were actually in the movie. So good, so good. Number five is Scarecrow the Reaping from 2022. Now, I was a bit hesitant on putting it this high up on the list, but after doing some thinking, I just thought like, wow, like there's really like nothing wrong with this maze. Like everything that's there is really good. Like it's some of the best that Horror Nights in Hollywood had to offer. Like the story was really good, the scares are really intense. A lot of the character designs are really cool, and just like the whole vibes and the atmosphere, it was just perfect. There's nothing I would change about Scarecrow the Reaping. Number four is going to be the original Universal Monsters maze back in 2018. The only issue I have with this one is that Frankenstein's monster comes out a lot compared to all the other monsters. Wolfman comes out in like one spot, and then like an Invisible Man comes out in another spot. And like while their appearances are really cool, Frankenstein's monster is definitely like the main focus. And if they would have focused a little bit more on the other monsters, then I would have maybe had this at my number one. But other than that one tiny little nitpick, like just so perfect. The music was really good. The costume, just the vibes, the scenes, and the scares. Just I could go on and on and on and on and on about why Universal Monsters works. That first Universal Monsters maze is just so perfect. Number three, Freddy versus Jason from 2016. As a Freddy and Jason fan, like it was my biggest dream come to life. Just seeing them go at it while guests were caught in the middle of the battle is just really cool. And they didn't really base it off of the movie. They kind of like their own original story, their own original take on what a Freddy versus Jason story would be like. And honestly, it's better than the actual movie. So much fun. Like it's just you could tell that like the people who made this were such huge fans of both the Friday and the Nightmare franchises. So good. Number two is another maze that's slept on, just like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Halloween from 2016. I believe it was called Hell Comes to Haddonfield, something like that. This is the one based off of the second movie, the original second movie. Everything that worked so well in that first Halloween maze just cranked up to 11 in this one. The scares are really cool. They're really well placed and well hidden. The scare actors are really aggressive, and the scenes were really well translated. And that end with the pumpkins, the floating pumpkins, and that giant jack o' lantern, chef's kiss, chef's kiss. It was just so good. Again, another slept on maze. Number one, my all-time favorite maze at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood, and that is Insidious from 2015. Now, this is probably one of the scariest experiences that I've had at Horror Nights, and I am a big fan of the Insidious franchise, so seeing all the characters and seeing all the different scenes come to life and seeing all the different rooms, like Dalton's room, and then Darth Maul Demon's Lair, and then the Seance room where all three of the monsters come out, like, it's perfectly executed. Everything about it was just so good. Yes, there were a couple black walls here and there, but then again, we're dealing with the further, which is just pitch black darkness. And at least at that pitch black darkness, black walls, there was a lot going on in those black wall sections too. It was just so good and just so scary, so fun, so energetic. It's just I could go on and on and on about why that maze worked so well. But we'd be here for like hours. Yeah, Insidious. It's gonna be really hard for a maze in the future to top Insidious in 2015. My all-time favorite maze. And that is the ranking. All 64 mazes that I've experienced, ranked from worst to best. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you thought of the video. Tell me some of your favorites and least favorite mazes down in the comments below. If you like what you saw, go ahead and give it a like. If you want more content like this involving Halloween Horror Nights or just like theme parks or Halloween stuff in general, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you were able to endure me ranting and like glazing all over these 64 mazes and made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. And until then, see you on the fog.